why they're important. The alt-right playbook, control the conversation by Innuendo Studios. This is a 5-year-old video, and it's still important to this day.
Say, for the sake of argument, there's this guy who's running for president. It's late in the campaign, and one of his chief liabilities as a candidate is that over a dozen women have reported that he sexually assaulted them, among them his ex-wife and a 13-year-old girl. His candidacy depends on convincing enough of the voting public that these accusations are false. But then, shortly before the election, audio leaks of this guy, backstage on TV and unaware his mic was on, not just admitting to, but bragging about kissing and groping women without their consent. So the first question is, how's he gonna spin that? And the answer comes in the form of an internet apology video where he begins with something like, I don't know, I never said I was a perfect person or claimed to be someone that I'm not. At which point, you pause the video like,
your boy Linus is in hot water for a legitimate reason. I figured it's a relevant topic. Gamer Nexus made an in-depth video about it. I clicked on it to see what the fuck was going on. It's a 44-minute video about, like, I guess how in some of the data that they're using is inaccurate. And like their review is inaccurate. Do you think I care about whether or not Linus Tech Tips, which is like infotainment to begin with, is not giving me exactly the 100% accurate fucking metrics for what, I don't know, their GPU tests or something? If you think this is a serious drama that's unfolding that I have to cover in the midst of the deadliest modern wildfire and all of the other conspiracies that also are spreading like wildfire in the aftermath of it, I don't know what to tell you. Not to dunk on you too hard, Chatter, but like this is probably yet another one of those circumstances that where you have blinders on. It's not a great video in my opinion. Summary is Steve thinks his way of doing retractions is better. They built a whole lab to present 100% accurate info, but yeah, drama-wise, it's pretty specific. Like, I don't give a fuck about GPUs and CPUs, man. That's crazy. Save it for a slow news day, I think. The drama is that they claim they retest hardware every time, but others don't. It's very niche tech drama. YouTube tech community is going to have a field day with this. There's an annoying elitism section of it which hates Linus because it's more entertainment than just throwing data at you. Yeah, I have never in my entire life ever considered like the things that I'm seeing from Linus Tech Tips to be like 100%. Like, I don't go to Linus Tech Tips for like 100% accuracy for tech reviews. It's more so entertaining. Then again, I don't really look for like zero margin of error tech tips, I guess. Anyway, oh God, I'm not diving into this. I don't care. Let's watch this.
Dude, yes you have. You have done literally both of those things. So you pop on over to Twitter and comment on how this guy's apology opens with two comically untrue statements. And like flies to manure, his supporters show up in your mentions. And they say, that audio is from years ago. What he means is he doesn't speak that way about women anymore. To which you point out, yes he does. He did, like, 2 months ago. And they say, well, his opponent's husband actually does those things. And you reply, those allegations are far less substantiated, and if they're true, the candidate's not responsible for her husband's misconduct, and if they're true, that doesn't make this guy innocent. And they start leaning in on the why do liberals make such a big deal about coarse language, strong women can handle themselves, in real life there are no content warnings, and all you can do is lean back in your seat laughing to yourself. What kind of debate is this even? There's not a single thing your opposition has said that isn't provably false or irrelevant, and they change the subject every 30 seconds. They clearly have no actual position and are just grasping at.
Yeah, and yet they won. Because the entire point is to viciously, maliciously, and deliberately move the conversation away from actually taking place. You just don't. There's no goal there to just like have a sensible conversation. It's just trying to muddy the water.
Straws because they can see they're losing. So you don't really have to pay them any mind. They won't endure. Thing is, they have. Not only does this manner of argument endure, it keeps winning elections. Why? Folks, let me introduce you to one of the most foundational strategies of reactionary rhetoric. Control the conversation. Much of what we discuss in this series will come back to this in one way or another. Now let's be clear, a lot of the alt-right is okay with or even in favor of sexual assault against women, but it's not politically viable to say so.
It's true, but it's such a funny thing to just like say still. It's a sad yet kind of funny thing to say, even though it is 100% true. Shay? Okay, you can just like take her out on a leash.
So if their guy is a serial harasser and they want people to vote for him, they
How is it funny? Well, don't you think that it's like fucking tragic but also comedic in a weird way that like there are people who are just like literally fucking pro sexual assault? It's the juxtaposition of what you expect from a human being versus like being unimaginably cruel. You can see comedy in something that is absolutely insane, even though it's dark, okay? Just because we are watching, yes, it's tragic comedy because it's literally true. Now, let me explain something to you, okay? Just because we're watching a video from 2016 doesn't mean that your brain should be wired in the most 2016 way possible, okay? I don't have to fucking describe to you the terms of what I laugh at every single goddamn time. Holy shit. I legitimately feel we laugh at dudes saying insane racist shit every day. Exactly. I feel like what that chatter is doing is basically what this guy is doing, but on the fucking liberal spectrum. Okay? When you come in and you go, explain tragic comedy to me right now, or else my neurodivergence will imply that you yourself are in favor of sexual assault happening. You're doing the exact same thing that this fucking freak is doing, okay? He just had like he maxed out his autism stats for fucking niche esoteric Nazi bullshit. You maxed out your autism stats for the other side, for like radical liberalism, okay?
have to control that conversation. They have to let people think that a vote for this guy is not a vote for sexual assault. How it works is every one of these bad arguments is a subtle attempt to...
Meanwhile, you should be maxing out your autism stats on trains, okay? And viable public transit options, please. That's what you should be maxing it out on, not any of this dumb shit.
Change the subject. Now, changing the subject mid-debate isn't a remarkable phenomenon. We call that moving the goalposts. And if that's all that was going on, I wouldn't waste your time making a whole video about it because that video already exists. Link in the down there part. Controlling the conversation is a bit more sophisticated. To understand it, we have to look at how the goalposts move and where they get moved to. Regarding how the goalposts move, you must understand this. Bad arguments are not a bug, they're a feature. I mean, what are the positions in this debate? On one side, it's this guy admitted to groping women, and on the other, it was all just locker room talk. And trying to convince people that a guy who said he groped people didn't actually grope...
Look, you're doing it. You're doing it again. You're doing it again. You're doing it again. You're doing it. You're continuing it. You're continuing the conversation. The effort here is not to have a viable conversation. The effort here is to just have yourself be represented in the chat and to derail the conversation from happening. Further, conversation from happening. I never said that Nazis and rad leftists or rad libs are equivalent, okay? Morally equivalent. I never said that, okay? I said in a very hyper-specific scenario where your goal is to cause disruption in a narcissistic way, you are engaging in the very same battle. You're just using different aesthetics. Ultimately, on the morality spectrum, these are not, I'm not like a believer in the horseshoe theory or anything like that. But why you chose to do this? Because it's a little narcissistic. I get it. You want attention. I understand. Okay, we all do. We want to feel loved. We want to feel noticed. Please move away from this interest, at least for the duration of this alt-right playbook control the conversation video, because you are ironically trying to control the conversation. Take a day off.
Rope people is not a favorable argument for his supporters to have. So they just don't have it. If their position is he didn't really do what he said he did, they've learned never to make that argument. They make the next argument. Because if we were to agree that it was all just locker room talk, the next argument would be, and he doesn't talk that way anymore, or and his opponent's husband actually does those things, or and coarse language has no negative effects on women. The trick is to treat you like you've already agreed to their position, and make claims that treat it as a given. Cognitive scientists would call this presupposing a frame. If you're on whether or not he still speaks that way to women, you've unwittingly agreed that that's what you're talking about. And that's why it benefits the right to insist that language is harmless despite a wealth of contradictory data, because if liberals provide the data, it gets them talking about speech. Bad arguments are bait, because liberals can't resist digging into them. They don't like letting false statements slide, and often they won't even notice if that statement is off topic. So there are few better ways to get Democrats talking about what you want them to talk about than to defend your position badly. Regarding where the goalposts move, let's step back and ask ourselves, what is the purpose of debate? The liberal conception of debate is usually along the lines of Joseph Joubert's adage, the aim of argument or of discussion should not be victory, but progress.
I'm never going to watch a bad empanada video on the stream. I'm just letting you guys know. Much love to all of you who consume his content. If you think I'm going to fucking watch a YouTube essay from a dude who is like literally openly antagonistic towards me watching fucking YouTube videos, even though he also admits that I am probably one of the most mainstream anti-imperialist commentators out there, you're out of your fucking mind, okay? You think I want him to write like 700 hours worth of new YouTube essays about how I have wronged him? I don't want that. I don't want that at all, okay? He would perhaps benefit tremendously if I did watch his YouTube videos on this channel, but I'm never going to fucking do that, okay? Please. Yes, batshit insane leftists do actually make really good content from time to time. Not that antagonistic from what I've seen. Where are you getting this? Oh my God. You're just fucking stupid, okay? That's it. That's all I'm going to say. Just literally, if he wasn't banned every goddamn week, you would probably see some of his old tweets about him fucking thinking that ReactGate is the absolute most anti-leftist thing that has ever happened in the history of the fucking planet, okay? He is also super narcissistic, which is part and parcel for this industry. I myself also have a touch of that. So he's also hyper online, but it's fine. Whatever. He's a bit of a drama pervert.
You're thinking Plato and Glaucon, or maybe Debate Club. Two sides debate until one side wins, or until a third conclusion is reached together. Either way, the goal of debate is to arrive at the truth. That's not what debate means on the right. There, debate is a chance to perform strength, integrity, and certainty. So
conservatism is inherently easier to defend because all they have to discuss is positive freedoms and the status quo. Ding, ding, ding. And also, you can take it one step further and literally do it while lying simultaneously. It is, in my opinion, much harder to lie about like a leftist future because you've never experienced it. You can lie about the current ongoing oppressive constructs that you exist under and always point to common sense. Oh, it's just common sense. What do you mean? That's just how it is. As I've described time and time again, it takes 1 second to lie and 1,000 hours to disprove said lie. Especially when you're lying in the right-wing direction. Okay?
You don't debate until a victor is declared. You debate as long as you can keep eyeballs on you, forever if possible. There, the truth doesn't win because nobody wins, not in any formal way. You may scoff at that, but let's think about it. This is how political debates are structured in the US, where two candidates come in already knowing everything they're going to say, where it's political suicide to concede any point or find any compromise, and where who won is up to the voters. In such a framework, truth and falsity don't exist. All that matters is how much of the audience agrees with you. And if that's your framework, then what's in your best interest is to steer the conversation swiftly and efficiently to something you and your opponent will never agree on, because that gives you the most opportunities to look firm in front of an adversary. The value of turning a conversation about sexual assault into a conversation about sexist language is that the effect of sexist language is a place where the left and the right are fundamentally at odds. This is something Republicans can argue about till the end of time, because the left's understanding of systemic issues does not jive with the right's views on personal responsibility. Yes, of course, if the president spoke this way in the White House, it might be alienating to any woman who works there, but the right sees this as a personal failing on the part of the woman, not a systemic failing on the part of men. Sure, he shouldn't have said that, but really, she needs to lean in. And all the articles, all the data, all the reports that say that's not how this works in practice, they are useless in the framework of a performative Twitter argument or a 1-hour TV debate. A proper understanding of institutional sexism just takes longer than that.
Yeah. One other part of this is also the oppressive constructs and everything that you experience is reinforced through our culture, which is dependent on the material conditions. So if the system itself is racist, let's say, right? I've seen all the bad empanadas videos. He's never seen bad things about you. Okay, dude, here, take a week off, okay? Please. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Like, please, I'm off the topic. Just take a week off. Take some time, take a breather. You're making me more conservative, Hasan. That's my favorite type of conversation where someone's like, dude, I was fucking dumb as shit before I got in here, but let me tell you, I've gotten way dumber now. Oh boy, I do not like the things you're saying. I am going to literally dive into the fucking rabbit hole now. That's a good one. That's probably a meme. Okay. White supremacy exists in a country that was designed to have chattel slavery, right? It's obvious. Most people recognize it, especially if you are educated on the matter. However, if you're not educated on the matter, or rather you're educated in the opposite direction, like you're a fucking kid in Florida, let's say, or in the South, where they teach you completely different things about the Civil War, completely different things about the civil rights movement, as a matter of fact, okay? And that you are like learning all the wrong things. You also live in a segregated community. You are far removed from seeing a black person ever. And when you do experience a black person in your near vicinity, you have all of these hang-ups from all of the stereotyping that you've seen in local news and mainstream media. Black people are violent, angry, and you know, maybe slavery wasn't all that bad. Why are they so mad all the time, right? The war of northern aggression, you already have this foundation that is built. And it's designed that way. It's designed that way for you to have these kinds of opinions and these kinds of attitudes. And when you're primed with this kind of misinformation, okay? When you're primed with this kind of misinformation, A guy comes along and tries to describe systemic racism to you. You already have the preconceived biases, especially if you are a white kid too. You know, you have your own hangups. Why aren't they talking about my own personal issues? Why are they telling me about what black people are going through? That's going to take a long ass time to unwind and reconstruct society as it actually exists. Okay? The much simpler conversation to have in that situation is to just say, yeah, black people are violent. That's why those communities need to be over-policed. That way, you're appealing to the preconceived biases that this person already had. Okay? You're corresponding. Your information corresponds to the world as they know it because they haven't experienced it. They've only seen it. Okay? And it gives you a hug box. It makes you feel smart, like you're a big smarty pants. I was right about this. I was so right. That's it. That's why it's so easy to be a conservative commentator, because you don't have to do world building at all. The world has been built before you. You can also hype up the nostalgia of a time that existed before top of the hour ad breaks, before you needed to avoid them with a $5 a month subscription or a free one in the form of a Twitch Prime. You know, back then it was much better. People had houses, you know. You could get a white picket fence. You could easily just pay a $5 a month subscription to avoid the ads at the top of the hour at the HasanAbi broadcast. Weren't things much nicer? And you can hit people in their fifis. But of course, if you don't want to feel shitty about the top of the hour ad break, you can also get gifted a sub if you're lucky. Here's a 3-minute ad break now.
Now, I should stress, because it will be true for most of these videos, this isn't a master plan cooked up by some shadowy alt-right cabal. Most of the people who argue in this fashion, not all, but most, are simply doing what works without necessarily knowing why it works. It's picked up through observation or by trial and error. And it's not exclusive to the right. Everybody does this sometimes. It's just that the right has made it core to their entire platform. Anyway, why would anyone use this framework? Well, if your opposition has facts on their side, then you need a framework where facts aren't important. But more broadly, if the goal is to win over the public, then the public does respond to honesty, but they also respond to moral certainty. And the right tends to sell certainty better than the left sells truth. This is what they're good at. This suits their worldview. They speak of a universe where opposing sides never agree because agreement is impossible. And since agreement is impossible, you never have to compromise.
Actually, being conservative requires incredible education. Like, for example, if they laugh at you about Jewish space lasers, you need to know another country in the Middle East and say it's actually the Chinese space lasers. True. Exactly. One simple trick. You can also just blame the Chinese. You could still be anti-Semitic and still blame the Chinese. Like, for example, RFK Jr. did this recently, which is the Mega Man 5-head, actually 15-head take. When you go, the Chinese created a bioweapon that specifically doesn't kill Jews, Ashkenazi Jews. That is the final culmination of conspiratorial thinking, where you it's a double whammy. Okay, you basically said, you know, Jewish people avoided getting killed by COVID due to the Chinese-made bioweapon that was COVID. It's fucking awesome. And before people yell at me for saying, Hasan, why is that level of misinformation and anti-Semitic xenophobic conversations awesome? Please understand, I think it's good that people are spreading these conspiracy theories. I like it, okay? That's why I said it's awesome. Not because I find the mania funny, but personally, I love misinformation. I love when it spreads, especially of the xenophobic anti-Semitic variety. Not because of the unique creativity that I understand is necessary to cultivate such fucking insane conspiracy theories that my brain-rotted brain responds positively to, because at this point you have nothing to do but laugh, but because I like it. Yeah, because it will never hurt you. Stop. I know you're LARPing. I know you're LARPing as a rad lib chatter, but it's actually pissing me off. Anyway, let's continue.
Compromise. And since politics isn't about compromise, it's just about outnumbering your competition by any means necessary and obstructing them at every turn when they outnumber you. There is comfort in the idea that people are just fundamentally different, and that they owe each other nothing. And if victory is defined by holding your own, then the Democrats' desire for compromise is a weakness that can be exploited. On a gut level, the right knows what debate means on the left, knows that the left wants to meet in the middle. So all they have to do is bait the left into having a discussion on their terms, and then keep insisting that they should find common ground. You could work with us if you'd only try a little harder. Because the rules of that debate, where you concede points and look for compromise, in their world, make the left look weak. And as long as the right controls the terms of debate, conciliatory loses. That's how they control the conversation, move the entire debate to their framework using a bad argument as the worm on a hook. Now, understanding this, you may find yourself tempted to engage in that debate because, knowing the rules, you think you can dig in your heels, put on a better show, win over more of the audience. But the one piece of advice I have for you is never take the bait. Don't let them turn you away from the real subject. This guy assaulted women, and that has nothing to do with speech. Theirs is not.
There are a lot of debate bros who are good and need to watch and understand this vid. I mean, this is pretty much half the reason why I always say debates are not how you arrive at the truth through Socratic method or anything, and instead is just like pseudo-intellectual WWE wrestling. It's theatrical. There's a song and dance that you're playing, and the main purpose isn't necessarily to arrive at a truth, but actually to just ritualistically humiliate your interlocutor. And are there people who can be shifted in a debate? Certainly. There's a 20% that will maybe believe that you overpowered your opponent with your stronger rhetoric, but that doesn't necessarily mean you are correct on the facts. 40% will be firmly on your side. The other 40% will be firmly on the other side. Maybe 20% in the middle could move in either direction, depending on how powerful your rhetoric is. But it has absolutely nothing to do with real information and you being 100% correct. That's it. And that's the truth. It's I don't know why people don't. I don't know why people always make it seem like there is, some valid real truths coming out. It's like you have to test your ideas in the metal. You have to test the metal of your ideas. That's how you do it. Unless you do the worm, in which case you do win. And for the record, I do routinely debate. I debate all the time. I debate all the time. It's something that I do regularly. You know? You don't even practice your worm? Yeah, I mean, I do it because it is entertaining. Especially if it's like really, really silly, low, low harm, like dumb shit. Or if your opponent is someone like XQC, then it's a lot of fun because like he will make it entertaining and chaotic because he's just, not capable of holding a debate. Even when he tries hard, he just like constantly unwinds. Even if he has like good points, even if he takes notes, he just like forgets about them and gets emotional and starts just saying like insane shit. But it's like good content overall. So it's great. It's great when it's like low impact debates on dumb shit. The only thing you debating is that ban button, lol. I know. It's all there is also this other side where people have like very clearly, very, very deliberately created this deliberately created this like narrative like Hasan is bad at debates. That's why he like escapes them. It's like I've debated more people than most publicly on television. I'm very clear about my boundaries. I will debate if I feel like there is genuine harm happening and you have a large enough audience that like maybe I could captivate 20% of, that is a decent chunk. You know, I'll do it. I've done it. I will continue to do it. But it is not all I do. I'm not interested in making that my entire content. Bro debated on live TV. I've debated in front of large crowds. I've debated on live television. The idea that I don't debate is silly. I have debated. You can find them. You can find many examples of this. If someone has a big enough audience, people say, oh, you're doing it for clout. It's like, yeah, because the way I see it is if someone has a large enough audience and they're spreading harmful misinformation to that large enough audience, I think that there is 20% of that audience that I would like to at least change the minds of. That's it. If someone has a tiny audience, then why would I give them a larger platform? Was it you said that you were going to be debating Jordan Peterson soon? We were supposed to at Oxford Union Hall. Unfortunately, it is not happening. He backed out.
Not a game that can be won by progressives. Even if you ruined them for some ignorant comment on the First Amendment, you'd only be legitimizing their rules, and those rules do not lead to a functional society. They are based on the idea that differing types of people can't work together. So one just has to beat out all the others. You can't expect to run on those principles and not get flooded with Nazis, homophobes, and handsy rapists. So get it out of your head that you can win in a debate with the far right, that you can beat them at their own game. If you find yourself playing their game, you've already lost.
Yep. Great video from the from Innuendo Studios. The All Right Playbook, Control the Conversation, is a 5-year-old video, maybe a 6-year-old video.